Welcome to Merida here in Mexico. I arrived earlier this afternoon on the bus from Campeche, and I have arrived here on Halloween night. I kind of reworked my schedule a little bit to get here in time for tonight. In this time of year and in this city, both Halloween and Day of the Dead, Dia de Muertos, are both big events here, and so I wanted to make sure that I could get here in time to experience some of it. So I'm down here in the main square in the city, in the old part of the town, and the Procession of the Souls is sort of the kickoff of the 2 days of events here between today and tomorrow. So the Procession of the Souls is a parade through the streets that starts here in the main square by the cathedral, which you can just see right there. And it actually continues for some distance until it gets down to the main cemetery in the city. So this whole procession idea is that it's a entering of the souls into the afterlife. And what's really cool about it is you get a large number of people that are dressed up, face painted, the whole bit. And yeah, you can follow along if you want. You can just admire from a distance, but it should be a pretty cool thing to see. So I'm just down here now. I wanted to get down here before it all kind of kicked off, but I believe it should be starting here before too long, especially now that the rain finally stopped. It should give everybody an opportunity to kind of come out and get set up and ready to go. After all that rain today, you can see the large flag here in the center is very still at the moment. But there's definitely lots of milling about and scrambling about of people here getting things set up as quickly as possible. So anyway, we're just gonna hang out ourselves until things get going, and then we'll see what it's all about.
Ahora sí.
So we're down here at the main starting point for the procession, and just making our way over here to a bit of the entertainment that's going on. All kinds of face painting going on down here, but the lineups are so huge. Just hanging out in the park here at the moment, waiting for the procession to begin. This place is so packed with people, it's insane. It's interesting. So while all the tourists are getting their faces painted and all taking all the pictures, I mean, I'm doing the same thing, I guess. But there's an important reminder that for a lot of people, this is also a remembrance day for family members and those who have lost, lives to whatever. And as you walk around this park, you can see there's a large number of little stands, I guess is the best way to put it, that have, you know, pictures of family members and food and offerings and those types of things as well, to kind of, you know, help remember that as much as this is a day of Halloween and tomorrow is Dia de Muertos, for a lot of people it's still an important day of remembrance as well. Take a walk around and look at a few more of the memorials that are set up here. Since I find that infinitely more interesting than a bunch of tourists and face paint. Just kind of following the crowd here at the moment, heading down this side road here. Get away from the crazy music. This definitely feels a bit more localized down here as well. You can smell the incense and stuff from the candles here too as you walk down. Still a pile of water around today from that storm earlier as well. Another example here, one of the really nice memorials that are set up. Good afternoon from Merida here in Yucatan in Mexico. This park looks familiar. That's because it's the last place I've been here in Merida, and that was now 10 days ago. So I arrived here in Merida on Halloween, specifically to get here for some of the Halloween and the Day of the Dead celebrations that would have happened that weekend. As you saw, I did manage to record some video from Halloween night here in Merida, and then about 20 minutes later I've been walking down the side streets where most of the crowds have been going, and was quite tired at that point and quite hungry. It had been a long day by then, and it was just a kind of a mad scramble to try and get here in time for Halloween. Wasn't watching where I was going, and managed to fall into a hole when stepping off the sidewalk that was at least 3 feet deep. I don't know exactly how deep it was because thankfully my fat butt landed on the sidewalk to prevent me falling in further. It was nothing that looked obvious, so it had rained here a lot in Merida that day, and this hole that I fell into was completely covered right to the street level with water. So when I stepped off the sidewalk and assumed that I was just stepping into a, little bit of water or something, down I went. And I ended up injuring my knee quite badly. It took, today's been 10 days before I was able to kind of get out and wander around on it at all. And it's still not 100% yet. Still got a nasty scar. I'll save you from seeing it. It looks a lot better than it did, but it still looks like, ground hamburger. So, so that really put a wrench in my plans for here in Merida and getting out to see the city. I barely left my apartment, the place I was renting. I barely left it for a week. So I was supposed to be here for a week in total. Was lucky enough that the place I'm staying in was able to book me in for a second week. And so here we are. It was pretty bad, I'm not gonna lie. It was it was a little embarrassing given the number of people that were around. I was very lucky that I didn't break anything. So where I really injured my leg is about an inch or two just below the kneecap and just above where the shin bone kind of is, in that little sort of meaty area. I think that if I had landed an inch or two farther up or down from there, I think the injury would have been far more serious. So I recognize I got very lucky there. I also got very lucky in that it didn't get infected, because it was what I'll call garbage water. It was, street runoff, rain, dirt, whatever else you could think of that would be in that kind of water. Smartly, I had some fresh water with me, so I was able to wash it off very quickly. I hopped in an Uber. I was soaked from the hips on down, and I was able to hop in an Uber, get back to my hotel, get it cleaned up, put some antibiotic stuff on it, and then just let it rest for as long as it took, which again was, today is day 10. So, it's still going to be a while before it's 100%, I think. But, at least I can walk on it now. So that's nice. So as far as Merida goes, I don't actually have much time left here now. I've only got like 3 days left, one of which I'm going to use to go to Uxmal Ruins, which is about an hour south of the city here. I am planning on heading there on Tuesday. So Tuesday and then Wednesday is my last full day here, and I'm moving on. I thought about extending it again a bit longer, but at this point there are other places that I want to get to as well, and I'd rather just kind of I just want to keep going. So that's what I'm going to do. So I just made my way back up to the Plaza Mayor here, Central Plaza in Merida, just to finish off my few last thoughts here. So, first of all, very special thank you to my parents, especially my mom, who was, 40-ish years as a nurse, and it was very nice to get pictures of me twice a day, every day for the last 10 days of my knee, and its slow but positive healing process. I never felt that it was infected or that I had to go to a hospital or anything. I was monitoring it closely for anybody who's going to ask, and there was never any sign of infection, and I marked that up to getting it cleaned out almost immediately with some fresh water that I had on me, and then getting it back cleaned up, antibiotic, ointment, the whole bit, right away within an hour, I would say. So the reason why I decided to record this little bit of video about this is just a reminder that, I think a lot of times people record video when they're traveling and try and pretend that, that there's never any problems or that everything is wonderful everywhere you go. And well, in fact, this is now the third time since crossing over from Baja where I've had to spend a week recovering from something. So when I first left Mazatlan, I got very sick, and turned out that I had COVID, and so I spent my first week of Guadalajara basically recovering from COVID in bed. So after I recovered in Guadalajara, I had a few days left there and used the time to see the city and some of the sights. And from there I left and went to Guanajuato and Querétaro. Both were incredible, no problems there. Mexico City was fine. Then I got to Oaxaca, and my first or second day there, I injured my back to the point where I was basically in bed for 5 or 6 days, and it was a lot of pain, to be honest. It was a case of, I think I slipped something in my back, and it just took time. Same sort of thing in Oaxaca, where I ended up extending my stay another week, mostly to use week number 2 to go out and see all the things I wanted to see on week number 1, but didn't get a chance to. And so that, that just took time. It was nothing I could do about it other than just rest and, wait for it to go away. So after I left Oaxaca, I went through Palenque and Campeche, 2 shorter stops. Both were incredible, as you've seen in the videos. Things were great there. Had a great time. And then I got to Merida, and as I said, my first night here, I messed up my knee pretty bad, and I'm just at the point now where I can kind of get out and get around on it again. So that's 3 strikes. I'm hoping that that's the end of the incidences. They say that things come in 3s. Well, that's definitely 3. But yeah, I just wanted to post this so that people understand that, things do happen when you're traveling. And, if someone says that they traveled for 6 months and they never had a problem and everything went great and, it was wonderful and whatever, either they're extremely lucky or they're lying, because something inevitably comes up when you're on the road for this long. And I'm 3.5 months now into my trip in Mexico, so 3.5 months, including the almost 3 weeks now that I've had to use for various things to recover from. But anyway, that just happens sometimes. So anyway, my time in Merida here, I'm going to try and use the last 2 days to really get to see some things. I'm planning on heading out to Uxmal on Tuesday. There's a couple things here in the city I might go to try and get to on Wednesday before I head out on Thursday. Sundays here are nice in some ways in that a lot of the downtown streets are closed off, so a lot of it becomes kind of pedestrian only. But then a lot of the museums and things you might want to see are closed on Sundays and usually on Mondays as well. One thing of note is that unlike a lot of the archaeological sites, Uxmal is actually open on Mondays. So if you want to go there and check that out, Monday's a good day to do that because it wouldn't be that busy. I'm going on Tuesday mostly for the same reason, because I don't think it'll be that busy. And I'm really looking forward to it. So this whole trip as a whole has been great. I've had so many great memories here along the way, and despite some what I'll call minor setbacks, that's just part of it, and it's part of it when you're traveling at 50, after sitting at a desk for the last 25 years, your body tends to, sometimes not handle, sometimes doesn't handle some of this stuff very well, but doesn't matter. I'm gonna push through it. I'm gonna force it to put up with it, whether it wants to or not, because I've waited too long, and I don't feel like waiting any longer. So, just standing here in front of the cathedral here in Merida, in case you're wondering what I was looking at, which is also closed. So anyway, that's really all for now. Just an update on what happened here in Merida. 10 days is a long time to have to sit around and wait for something to get better, but I would have rather have waited and it get better rather than try and rush it and injure it further, or in fact get an infection, or whatever. So so it's all good, and Merida is great, beautiful city. Like I said, I'm going to try and get around to see some of it in the next couple days, but that's all for now. I think it's supposed to rain here very shortly. It's very humid here at the moment and hot, and so I expect it's going to rain here before too long. Anyway, more to come from Merida here in the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico.